Hey there, Hopeful Tribe. Do you find that your health goals start and then stop and then start and stop again? Do you ever wonder why? This is the video for you.
I know a lot about this starting and stopping and starting and stopping. I have been working towards a weight loss goal for a long time, and it's taken me, I'd say, about a decade to figure out how to make sustainable changes to my health. I think the first tip I have is to be willing to accept yourself as you are when you're starting this new health practice or whatever. It's important that you're willing to accept yourself as you are, because if you're going to be really upset if the change doesn't happen immediately and linearly, you're probably going to be disappointed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, as Sue said, the journey just isn't linear. I mean, when people say they've lost hundreds of pounds, literally, like one time I lost 82 pounds, another time I lost 113 pounds. And luckily, I've been lucky enough not to gain it all back, but it is sort of a start, stop journey. And so what I did find out early on, the last time when I lost 113 pounds, was you have to love yourself thin. And by that, I mean, not like love yourself when you're thin, but love yourself exactly where you are and start from there and sort of accept and love and embrace where you are and embrace this idea of, change and going forward and making steps to improve whatever your condition is. So yeah, that's absolutely key. And I think the first time when I'd lost 82 pounds, I wasn't in that place. And at that point I did the traditional gain the weight back and then some. And I just sort of like hated myself to the end of it. I just kind of like, I hate the way that I look and that's why I'm losing weight. And I was also very much involved in, that sort of, not only just accepting myself where I was, but actually sort of like outside kind of gratification about, my weight loss journey. Like, were people noticing? Were they mentioning it? And also, this sort of thing happens sometimes where it's like the first time someone mentions it, then you go and maybe overeat, because you're so attached to those sort of outside things. The next time I was really just kind of focused on myself and my own journey, not what anybody outside thought. And it was even to the point when I'd lost over 100 pounds, some people would mention like, oh, you've lost weight. And I would even forget for a minute that they could sort of see the thing that I was doing for me. So yeah, I think it's important to accept yourself and love yourself, sort of like love yourself to have good health.
Mm-hmm. I also highly recommend, and this is tip number 2, to get ready to be ready to change. To me, this is the step before preparation. This is make sure you're really ready. If you're feeling like on a scale of 1 to 10, at like a 5 about whether you want to make a change or not, don't make it. Just see what you can do to get your willingness up before you try to embark on any kind of change journey, because behavior change is hard, right? And that's all we're talking about. No matter what health change you're trying to make, it's a behavior change is going to be required. And if you're not ready, it's just going to be harder. So I'm all about doing what you need to do to get ready to be ready.
Yeah, and actually I think of that get ready to be ready even in a bigger way and attached to the, this is sort of a start and stop journey sometimes and sort of a circling back. Like I look at the first time when I lost like 82 pounds and I was doing it in a way where I wasn't really kind of, loving and investing myself. That was me getting ready for the next time. And even the time when I lost more weight and then didn't gain it back, that was me getting ready for this step here, right? And so kind of sometimes it's incremental, you'll maybe change one thing like exercise and it sort of won't stick, or you'll change something like your eating habits and it won't stick. All those steps are getting ready to be ready to be ready. And then when you're ready, you really embark on it in a serious way. But those little sort of trial runs, practice things, I think it's important not to kind of look at them as for me, to look at them as failures, but part of the getting ready to be ready journey in health and fitness and weight loss.
Yeah, and one of the things I did to get ready to be ready for certain changes was to just pray about it. Sometimes that's all I had to do, and then I felt ready, But yeah, whatever works for you to get ready for a change, get yourself there. At least at an 8.5, I'd say, before you start actually making preparations. Yeah. And that's the third tip, is to prepare yourself for the change. Preparation can look like a lot of things. I think when I think about when we decided to go back to eating strictly keto at the beginning of the year, one of the things I did to prepare was to get rid of any high carb foods we had in the house, and then make sure that we had lots of fun keto food in the house that we both like to eat, so we wouldn't be caught without something that was appropriate to eat in the house,
Yeah. And I think part of it too is even the meal planning. Sort of know what meals that you have planned and make them as delicious as possible within your guidelines, so that you're excited about what you're going to eat. You're eating healthy things, and as Sue said, like having things in the snack that snacks in the house that are within what your goals are. But even that sort of thing, how it's incremental change. Sort of at the beginning, we had like lots of snacks that we're allowed to eat within keto. And then as we've gotten more and more serious, it's like less snacking between meals, so it's like just these incremental changes in the plan. And then almost like training wheels as you go along to keep yourself successful until you get to the next step. And just like even with the fasting, we started just by tightening our intermittent fasting, or just keeping our intermittent fasting window, and then got to the point where we were doing longer fasts, and yeah, just these incremental changes are part of the preparing yourself for the bigger change. So
Tip number 4, make a simple plan and tell at least one trusted person about it. I think for me, having a plan before I start taking action on a behavior change is really important, because I tend to be too ambitious, right? And so if I write down a plan that is too ambitious, I'll notice when it's in black and white in front of me, like, no, that's too much. So then I'll pare it down and make it a little simpler. And then I think it's really important for me, the part about trusting it with that, sharing with that at least one trusted person, because if I don't, then I think it's too easy for me to just say, the first time it gets hard, F it, I don't need to do this. It's too hard, it's okay, and nobody knows, right? For me, it's better to tell at least one person who I trust completely.
Yeah. And so for me, this idea about make a simple plan, absolutely, make a simple plan so that you can implement it and it's doable. Until recently, I wouldn't sort of share it, because especially back and I've struggled with weight my entire life. Sometimes people would get in your head in the wrong way, or at least they weren't getting in the head in the wrong way. They would say something and I would put it in my head in a way that would bother me. Some people would say like, oh, accountability, but then if the person's like kind of constantly checking in on you, like, hey, how's the diet going? And then even or like they'll see you eat something that is within what you've decided is the right thing to eat, but they're like, oh, are you allowed to eat that? They so I guess it is like, trusted, but they may help in ways that I find like irritating. So I kind of didn't have anyone who was like-minded enough, I would usually wait until I'd like lost a little bit, and then if people started to ask, like kind of share it. But when I lost the 113 pounds before, it wasn't one trusted friend, but I joined my fitness pal. So there were lots of people who I could talk to on there who were anonymous, and you could listen to the ones that you felt like listening to, and not to other ones, and not have like kind of people in your life who was, maybe you told them so you can be accountable, but they took too much kind of a is it codependent? A codependent role in helping you lose weight, So yeah. I think it's important to have a plan. I think it's important to have. This is lovely that Sue and I are doing this together, because we're both really dedicated and like-minded around it. With my ex, we might start some sort of an eating plan together to try to get healthier or to try to exercise. But then the minute one of us said like, let's just, do you want cake? It'd be like, yeah, fuck it, cake. So, if the other person isn't like, positive and dedicated along with you, it could be a little tough.
Yeah, for sure. And then tip number 5 is track your progress on the plan and reward yourself for following it. Now, we really haven't done this yet in this round of change, but this has been a thing that I believed in since the beginning, and it's worked really well for me to have not only weekly assessments of how I'm doing, but also rewarding myself for following the plan. It didn't mean like I reached a certain metric, like you get to a certain weight and you give yourself a reward. No, it was like just for following the plan, because the plan will eventually, lead to the behavior change I want. And so my goal whenever I'm trying to change my behavior is to just stick to the plan. But yeah, we should consider that again, because I enjoyed the rewards.
Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning and talked about what sort of a reward might be, what might we like to have for ourselves. And I think I talked about like, getting a couple new shirts or something like that. But I think in some ways, and previously I would do rewards, they would always be sort of like, oh, at this point, like, 4 months in, I'm going to go for pizza, because I'd maybe been denying myself pizza or something. But I must say with this, this keto diet, there's so many yummy things that you can eat that are sometimes outside of other eating plans, that I don't feel myself saying like, oh, once, I'm going to have this, this special food treat that I've been denying myself. It really doesn't feel like, I've been denying myself. But I think what's sort of taking the place of rewards at the moment is just us doing it together. And since we work together and live together and are together all the time, there's a lot of like, oh, my blood sugar was this, and hey, good job. So a lot of like positive reinforcement that you wouldn't be getting on the regular, or I'm still in ketosis. Oh man, good job. That's wonderful. So, I think it's a little bit different. I'm getting more just like daily small rewards, like throughout the day. It's not like a tangible reward. It's just like positive reinforcement as we go through this together, or even like celebrating like, oh yeah, last night, I'm up watching TV late and feeling like a midnight snack, and instead I went and got like a cup of tea and continued to relax. Just being able to do that and then share that, like, hey, this is a success. I felt like going and grabbing something out of the fridge, but I had a tea instead. And having Sue say like, oh, good for you. We act like we won something, like, yeah. Yeah, totally. You won that one. So yeah, I think that's part of why we have another words. We should revisit it for sure.
And then tip number 6 is to check in at least weekly to see your progress. And the second part of this tip is to make any adjustments that you think are necessary to make it more successful. So, for instance, I think it was at the beginning of this week, I asked Deb, do you think that the 6-hour window is working for us on the regular, or would it be okay to go back to a 7? Because I was feeling kind of constrained with the 6.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also too, we can sort of like be little, like collect data, right? Since we're keeping track of things like blood pressure and blood sugar and ketones, sort of we can, measure. And if we've fallen out of ketosis, like, oh, I wonder what we ate and wonder what that did, even though maybe the packaging said one thing, or we know that it's one thing, maybe the combination of things. So we're able to kind of keep data like that. If we fall out of ketosis and we didn't expect to, kind of find out what different foods and things are doing to us.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah. And last but hardly least is celebrate your milestones and accept that relapse is a normal part of behavior change.
Yeah. It's a journey, not a destination. So you're gonna maybe go back and forth and back, and all that's part of it. But just keep trending more towards forward, and I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be conventional milestones either. Like maybe it was having a dessert tea instead of having something to eat. Maybe it was not getting upset when you didn't get any weight loss that day,
Yeah, or maybe it was since we do, or I do, I'll speak for me, Sue has mentioned that it's similar for her too, since we do use food as sort of a thing to soothe us when we're upset. Maybe you can have like an upsetting day, but still it didn't cause you to stress eat. That's like a big one, right? Yeah, you just still took care of business and took care of yourself and didn't allow it to take you off track. So yeah, celebrate those things.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that no matter what kind of health behavior you're trying to change, relapse is a really normal part of it. I mean, I think in my whole adult life, I've been somewhere between 100 and 220 pounds, which is a pretty large range, right? And that means I've, gone up and down the scale quite a few times. But I think that I keep learning as I have these relapses. This last one is no exception. I really found out where my body's at with my metabolism when I decided to not pay that close attention to it for a year. So yeah, and I think I have to just forgive myself and keep on moving, because the good news is I know a lot more now about how to change that, than I used to.
Yeah, and so I think it is so important to sort of underscore this idea that relapse is part of it, because I think we tend to, when we kind of what we say quote unquote sort of mess up, kind of beat ourselves up, and that gets you away from step one, which was be willing to accept yourself as you are. So that doesn't mean don't keep trying. It means like don't, just accept that as like, okay, that happened, let me continue. Like with anything, it's like practice, keep practicing it. Don't give up, The only way to like not achieve your goals really is just to like give up on them.
That's
right.
So
just keep trying, Yeah.
All right. We hope you feel loved and hopeful until we see you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.